Welcome to Play With It with Cass Allen. How y'all doing out there today? As y'all already know, if you've been watching the show, we've been on the dating pool and all the many facets of it. Uh, Dating changes throughout your life, as your requirements change. And we've been discussing a bunch of fun things about dating. When you're 18, this one we're about to discuss today isn't really relevant. It becomes relevant with time, and we're talking about dating while you're still married, but you're separated. Some people are afraid of what comes with dating when someone's still married and they're not separated from the person. They feel like, oh my gosh, this can't be real, or you're sneaking, or we're going to get in trouble, someone could get hurt, blah, blah, blah. Some of those same people think, okay, well, they're separated, so there must be room for me. We make a hell of a lot of assumptions when we're dating people because, as you know, what I'm about to say, that's not necessarily true. A situation where two people are separated may be more dangerous for your ass than a situation where two people are not separated. It's really a personality thing, like I've suggested in the past, and we'll go over again. There are a number of reasons why people could still be in a marriage and separated. As we all know, the obvious is waiting for a divorce, which a lot of people are doing. COVID, in at least in Northern America, slowed down legal processes, and things that used to take a minute now take a few hours. And what I really mean is things that used to take months now take years. It's all relative. There was a time when the court system was pretty much shut down and everybody thought, I guess they were going to die and, they didn't want to catch cooties from each other. So, we tolerated it. And as a result of that, cases piled up, So people who are in pending situations, I think, get a little more slack now, in particular the longer you've been separated from someone, that fresh shit. Oh, I've been separated from that bitch for a week. Nobody's probably going to buy that shit from you and want to date you. That sounds like it's still on flames and you don't want to get burned. But there are situations where people have been separated for years, or, one party refuses to sign papers, or can't find the other. So many things. Or they've agreed to stay married on paper for the whatever the purpose is, the children, the benefits, whatever. There's so many reasons that people have these binding agreements and don't break them when the love is gone. Hell, there are people that get into these binding agreements without love. So of course, you can expect some of that other situation I just mentioned to be going on as well. I really think that I might listen to a person who's been in a situation for 10 years and legitimately does not live with that person, and the person also attests to the same situation. So issues are important. Excuse me. Spousal issues are important if you want to fuck with somebody who's in a situation, don't just take everything that the person tells you as the final word in the situation. There may be things going on that are being withheld from you that could put you not only in a state of danger, but just in a state of discourse. You could be stalked, harassed, threatened, all kinds of shit because you don't know what that person might be saying to their spouse or their soon to be ex-spouse. That person may be angry because of the things that happen between them, and their fire is so widespread that they're gonna light a match on your ass too. Like I said, I've been on both sides. Even here, married and still married and separated. I know what that's like too on both sides. Depending, like I said, depending on the situation is how I chose to deal with it. Whether or not the other party was aware, whether or not they both agreed to date other people and really couldn't stand each other's guts anymore. You know, you can tell energies many times if you spend some time around someone. That's why I say if you get an opportunity to hang around the spouse, by all means do, because you can pick up a whole bunch of signs that that person that you're dating is trying to downplay. You ever been in a situation yourself where you're married and you're separated, but the person's still mad at you, and you know you're trying to tell the new people you're dating it's no big deal, but that soon to be ex is giving that, oh, it's gonna be a fucking big deal energy. I know some of you have been there, so you know what I'm talking about, you know. So if you've been there yourself, why not look at it? You know, if you end up in this situation yourself, why not apply those same things? Like pay attention to what's going on in your environment, not just that monkey ass that you staring at like a target, you know. Monkey ass will get you in all kinds of situations. I heard a story from a woman that I'm dating. The woman, not a woman, the woman, the only woman. About people who get their legs blown off in minefields going after monkey ass. It's pretty fascinating, you know, the things that people will do. But like I said, along the course, pay attention to the situations around you. You know, do you trust the married one? How do you get this person to trust you if you're the married one? You know, how do you present yourself in a way um, to move forward with an additional relationship while you're still getting out of one? That can be tricky. You know, I know for myself, you know, there were some things I regretted doing in my marriage insofar as the timing of things. I haven't regretted my acts insofar as, you know, dissolving them. But I think, you know, at some points in hindsight, as we all have, you know, that epiphany, there are things I could have taken my time with more, you know. I was very, this is how I feel, and let's move on in situations, you know, that Libra shit. Yeah, all Libras aren't wishy-washy. It's you know, we're not even gonna go too far into that, but I believe all signs have a low vibrational, high vibrational part to them, you know. There was a time in my life where I was very wishy-washy, and you know, I got myself in some trouble with some sitting on the fence and some situations with women where I should have made some smarter decisions, which is why I bring this up, you know. But I think the source that I'm more developed now. Some of you out there might be able to use this tip of how I solved my wishy-washy shit. You know, I used to sit on the fence. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't want to hurt her feelings. You know, depending on how many women I was dating. I wasn't lying to anybody, but I could have made moves faster, you know, especially when women got, so, you know, I was very open. They knew about each other. So if some of them had issues with each other, you know, I would kind of like fade into the background instead of being more decisive in how I was feeling. You know, I was always that, let me think about it, give me some time kind of shit, instead of saying, you know, weigh my options. And again, take this tip as it relates to, you know, dealing with people who are married and still separated. Like, do the math. That's what trained me. That's what fixed me. I took that motion out of it, and I just started doing the math, you know, because I love math. You know, math is something I was born like with in a serious way where I had to train myself to stop thinking about it. I was so obsessed with it. I began to apply it to how I deal with people, you know, in weighed situations, you know. Like they say, the math ain't math. And at that point, it's when you make the decision. You don't sit there and go 3 plus 3 equals 6, but I'm going to make that shit equal 7 for somebody else. And that's what we do in relationships. We know the shit don't fit. We know the shit doesn't work. We know the math does not add the fuck up. And somehow we make 3 plus 3 equal 23. and we have the nerve to try to justify it to everybody around us. Well, I'm with this person, they're separated from their mate, but their mate, no, they just say they're still friends. All the excuses you make to yourself to be in these situations when you know it's more than that. Well, if they're just friends, why can't you call the house? If they're just friends, how come you can't talk to this person after 8? How come you can't go over to the house? Ask yourself things like you watching a movie. Fuck your emotions. Just calculate. Be Inspector Clouseau, whoever you feel you need to be to get through this. But just use logic. And when you hear the truth, act on it. Don't just sit there. This is not a good situation for me. This person is married, and yeah, this person is separated, but this situation doesn't feel right. I don't trust this married person based on the things that I'm seeing. You know, you have to take that mathematics, and like I said, take that emotion out of it, whether you're the one that is married or you're dating someone who's married. You as a married person may run into someone, and because of your situation you want to be intimate out there, but it doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel right, leave that fatal attraction alone, or whatever, lethal, whatever word you want to apply to it. A lot of times when shit doesn't feel right and you go out there and fuck with it, then you bring it home, you know it's like monkey ass. Ask yourself, why is monkey ass worth destroying my entire life? Everything I've earned, everything I've worked for, all of my relationships, my home, my job, just to sniff some ass for like 30 days, if you get that many days with a person. Situations don't last long a lot of times. A lot of people want to be in and out. This is not the 18th century where you take somebody and you with them till you die. Where you don't break your vows and you put on chastity belts and this is it for the rest of my life. People leave you after a week of marrying you. People leave you the same day they marry you if they've had enough of you. So there are a lot of people floating around in situations, that are married, but it's a situation where they crave intimacy. I know what it's like to be married and also be in a situation and waiting for the legal system to do what they want to do. While my obligation to fulfill that side of me, that sensual side, was like on fire. So I get all of that. But like I said, I think it's important, as I've always done, and there's no one out there, as I always tell y'all, I welcome you. Put it in the comments. I've never played any of you. I've always been honest about my situation. If I've been dating one or more, if I've been dating multiple people, I've always been honest about it. If I've been in a married situation, I've been honest about it. I believe people have the right to decide how they want to indulge. Because you can't come back to me later and tell me what I didn't tell you. I don't want to hear it. And first of all, not only don't I want to hear it, I don't have that type of character and I don't want to be that type of person. Like I said, we've all done things that we regret, but, my life has never been revolving around doing harm to people. I have hurt feelings. We all have. But I've never gone out here with the intent to hurt someone or deceive someone with my situation just to get some monkey ass. I don't know. I'm not knocking you all who do, because I know some people out there that'll tell you anything you want to hear to get in your ass. While they're married and separated, they'll have you thinking all kinds of things that aren't true. And the moment they get that ass, as you all know, boom, bow, they just drop you, you know. And a lot of that happens because people aren't paying attention. People give you signs all the time, especially when they coming after you on day two to fuck you. That's a sign right there of what they want. And don't you dare later go and tell people, I thought it was more than that. I thought it was something special because you gave it up on day two, and on day 42, you still getting banged out. Now all of a sudden you saying you got a commitment. No, the fuck you don't. You just happen to be someone who opened your legs. The person's enjoying what you're giving out. And as soon as someone special comes along, they're done with you. You know. So if you want to get out here, and you're looking for love and you're willing to deal with people who are married, be careful what you're doing because they're married. There are people out here who are legitimately married, as we just discussed, and they're trying to move on with their lives and they're in bindings. But then there are people out here who just want your monkey ass. If you're serious about getting involved with someone who's in a situation, that's where all this communication comes in handy that we talk about, you know, the ability to have conversation. If people don't want to have conversation with you, if they get mad when you start talking about these things, more than likely they're full of so many types of cow manure, bull manure, donkey manure, goat manure, just full of shit. You understand what I'm saying? People who are sincere, people who really want to get to know you, people who want to spend time with you, they're more than likely going to ask you questions about yourself, and they're going to be excited to open themselves up to you because they're going to be excited that you have interest in them. So they're going to pour that shit out, you know? When they genuinely like feel like you're someone they want to spend some time with. No, a lot of people don't want to tell you anything because they don't plan on being around. And they don't want to waste their time telling these stories to someone that's just another passerby, you know. Pay attention for that too. A person who has no interest in you, who never asks you any questions, but tells you you're the one. What the hell do you know about me? Unless you're a blabbermouth and you tell all your business all of the time, and you're truly one of those open assholes. And by asshole, I'm not calling you an asshole. I mean your real asshole is open, and you just purge all your damn business. That's different. But that's rare. So pay attention to whether or not people are curious to what you have planned in life. You know. Pay attention to whether or not they care how you feel. Are you okay? How was your day? How's your health? How you doing today? Oh, I heard your friend died. How you feeling? Oh, I just wanted to say I'm thinking about you. If you're not getting any of that, I don't even care if it's a friend, a family member, somebody's not checking for you. If the only time people show you attention is when they run into you, they're not your friends. They're not interested in you. They're not your permanent lovers. You're just convenient. It's when you see them, they have something to say to you, or either they want some monkey ass. Especially the married people. If they're not calling you, only time you getting some dick or you giving something up is when you run into them at the party and you let them take you home. Don't be go telling all your friends you're in a relationship, because you're not. This is a person who's married and they're taking opportunities while they're separated, and you happen to be one of them. Don't play yourself into number one either. Don't do it to yourself. Don't let there be like 17 of you laying up on your beds daydreaming that you're number one and you all with the same person. Don't let that be your story. You know, it's like I said, I don't knock people. Do what you want to do. There are, like I said, all kinds of reasons that people are bound and unbound, depending on what contracts you believe in. Some people don't even believe in, the marital contract that comes with your traditional church or city hall setting. They have different cultural vows that put them together and unbind them, depending on their religious sects or, like I said, down to their native practices that may not have anything to do with religion. So, you know, there are people out here who believe in being married to multiple people. Imagine having three wives and you pissed at all of them and you separated from all three. That would be an interesting story, an interesting journey. I guess who has a chance of that becoming their life? I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But I know Neo out here has a few wives. It sounds like he's in a situation, that a lot of people probably wouldn't mind being in. If you have the maturity across your family where you can be married, you know, and it sounds like a situation where he might have the wherewithal to be married and separated and still turn people on if he's given that kind of honesty, which is what all this goes back to every time we talk. You know, what you're willing to disclose to the people that you're trying to get into bed with, you know. A lot of times that determines how fast you get into bed. Some of you think you hide in things that people can see. Everybody's not blind. Some people can see your spirit. They can read right through you. They know you talking shit. And they automatically write you off and you like, yo, what happened? I didn't even get to, yeah, you did. You presented your spirit wrong. Bounce, you know. So you know, take this same thing into account when you get hearing a hustle or a true tale from someone who's married, or you telling your own tale. You know, what am I setting up for my own karma? Am I being honest with these people? You know, there are people out here who'll put you in a situation where you running for your damn life because of another situation they got going on. So you got to pay attention. You know, I was in a situation once where someone told me their ex had driven 3 fucking hours to put an eye on me while I was at a location. Like, that's way too much fucking, that's way too much information. You know, you clearly you might be separated, but y'all not done. You know, there's a difference between those two as well. So find that out while you exploring a relationship with someone that may be married. You know, yeah, okay, you separated, but are you done? You know, are you planning to return? Or y'all just mad at each other? Y'all just out here dating, you know, until y'all want to, y'all doing this year thing some people used to do. You know, get married. Let's just separate for a year and see how things go. You know, is that y'all? Like, let me know, 'cause my heart's here too. Sometimes when you messing with somebody that's in a situation, you have more feelings for them than they do for you, 'cause you're willing to take these risks. Sometimes it's like we said for money, it's just some good monkey ass, whatever. But sometimes there are emotional attachments in these situations. You know, ask yourself, what do you have planned? If you're planning on getting a situation, if someone who's married has succumbed to you and caught you up in your feelings, or you're the married one who has gotten caught up in your feelings with someone, you know, even though you separated and it's not over. You know, there are things that people usually cannot do while they're still married, or would be wise not to do, depending on how they're planning to dissolve their marriage, whether it's contested or uncontested plays a role in how you move forward. What if you fall for somebody else, but you can't, you know, make certain moves without jeopardizing other things, you know? What if you have a freeze on everything and you can't make any moves in your life? You know, there's so many things to consider. Like I said, unless you're planning on going out there and get some temporary monkey booty, which a lot of people do, you know, just to relieve that sexual energy, you know, the body starts craving things and people go, fuck it, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna meet somebody, I'm gonna do my thing, you know. However you planning to do it, you know, make sure you moving with some good ethics, as I always offer pretty much all the time, you know. Like I say, I believe it's okay to do what you want as long as you're an adult, you're consenting with someone, it's safe, you're not creating all kinds of crazy looking kids from some kind of diabolical mixes of the genetics, you know. Do your thing, but at least tell the truth. Yo, I'm married, but I'm separated. We're friends. We're good friends. You know, that's another thing y'all do. Y'all try to downplay the person that you separated from so that you make somebody else comfortable that's coming in. But when they come in and start catching you and your ex in all kinds of intimate situations, you know, friendly shit, they start feeling jealous because you haven't been honest. You didn't say, yo, you know, this is my ex, but this is my best friend. That's where y'all fuck up. Tell the truth. That's my best friend, so they can get over it, so they can pout over that shit right in the beginning and get over it. Yo, that is her best friend. And then they'll start watching. You know, yo, they do look out for her. Instead of you saying, yeah, we don't really talk. And then every time they see y'all in the cut giggling, you know, every 3 days, but y'all don't really talk. Tell them from the gate. I'm still married. That's my friend. We separated. We got 4 kids together. Plus, we got a blended family. We got 2 other kids that we adopted together. We see each other twice a week. Do you want to date? That's it. All you can do is get a yes or no. I tell people the odds are really not against you. It's a 50-50 chance that somebody's going to say yes to you. So shoot your shot. Why not? You know, a lot of people out here are scared to say the truth. Like I've said before, you'd be surprised how much monkey ass you get with just coming up to people and telling the truth. Because if you lie to them and you get the monkey ass, then when the shit comes out in the age of Aquarius, when everything's revealed, they're pulling the monkey ass back. They have nothing for you. More than likely, you'll never see it again because you've betrayed this person, as opposed to from the beginning saying, "Look, this is how it is." Now, if this person gives you some of that monkey ass after that, what reason are they going to take it away? Except maybe getting bored or finding someone else. It won't have anything to do with you being dishonest. So that's probably going to last a little longer. Well, you got to learn to do the mathematics and really apply them to your situation. That was an example for y'all. We talked about this earlier in the show. Use mathematics and apply them to your situation and see what the potential outcomes are, and then shoot your shot based on the best one. In this case, the best outcome was to tell the truth because the person's already horny. They might not give it to you again in that situation either. But normally, when you right there, just tell the truth. At least people know what they're working with. Whether or not they want to let people know about you, they might be like, "Oh, let me tell my friends about this nigga." But once you say all of this, they might not tell their friends because they're not so sure about it. But you still might get the monkey ass. Y'all got to learn how to read the room. That's the biggest clue I can tell you. And when you read it, tell the truth about what you see. And a part of reading that room is making sure there's a mirror in the room so you can see yourself too. We all, like I tell my friends all the time, my loved ones, my lover, everybody, we all have challenges. A lot of us come with situations. There's nobody that I know who doesn't have some type of situation going on, whether it's mental, physical, financial, health. I think that's a part of life. We swim through Earth's journey and we wade through the waters. So, you're gonna find people who are married and married and not separated. Today's show is about being married and separated. And that's a large part of people out here. They'd say over 50% of marriages like dissolve. I think that's still the running number. Even 30% would still be a lot of tens of millions of fucking people. It's a lot of people out here who are in situations. I think that's why we've learned to give more grace there. There was a time where like if you were married, that was it. That date turned into marriage, that was it for the rest of your life. Now people have opportunities again. People are no longer staying in situations that they're not happy in, where the blessings are gone. They're going out there again in all kinds of marriage situations until they can become otherwise. Some don't even want to get divorced. As we talked about already, they're happy in their situation. But if you're in one of those with someone that's separated and you're investing a lot, just pay attention to how you're investing before that marriage is unbound, if you will. Look out for yourself, protect yourself, make sure you don't end up with 3 + 3 = 27. And on that note, this has been Cass Allen. Thank you all for joining me for Play With It. Good night and good day.